Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is another Asian movie DVD collection addendum video. Now as usual, we have a nice variety of stuff here. I got some Hong Kong films, some South Korean films, and some Japanese films here, as well as a few music CDs to cover near the end of the video. So let's get rolling. Most of these films I've actually already reviewed on my channel in full-length separate review videos. You'll notice a few of these titles if you've been around for a while. So the first one here, we'll do Hong Kong first. We got Casino Raiders. Yes, Casino Raiders. This is with our boy Andy Lau. And basically him and one of his buddies get involved with a casino owner, and they get involved with some shady bad guys along the way. And this one is a pretty solid flick. Very solid. I think it's well written. It's kind of a drama with some comedy, and a lot of the humor is peppered in near the first half. Basically during the first half, and then it gets progressively more serious as things move along. I really liked how the character interaction was handled in this, and there are a few surprises down the stretch. There are. It's pretty cool. It kind of revolves around gambling, and you got a few good fight scenes along the way, but this is primarily a drama, I think. So, yeah, check out Casino Raiders, and check out my review if you want some additional non-spoiler details on this. It's good stuff. Then we have two films in a franchise that I have yet to cover on this channel. We got Mr. Vampire 2 right here. And I did showcase my Mr. Vampire DVD in my Legacy Collection videos for my DVD collection. This one is in an addendum because I just purchased it not too long ago. Now, Mr. Vampire 2, despite the fact that you're adding Moon Lee and Yun Bao into the cast this time, which is a huge upgrade by anyone's standards. Actually, Moon Lee was in the first Mr. Vampire film. She had kind of a small, I guess you could say, I guess passive role. In this one, she has a more aggressive role. But the problem is that they're not giving her enough screen time. You know what I'm saying? So, and this happens in a lot of Moon Lee featured productions back in the day. You know, they'll put her on the cover, and then you watch the movie, and she's in the movie for like 10 minutes, and that's the case here. She's only in the movie for like 10 minutes. And Yun Bao is really only in the movie for maybe 30 minutes, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Mr. Vampire 2, I remember when I first watched Mr. Vampire, and then I became a Moon Lee and Yun Bao fan, and then I realized Mr. Vampire 2 had both of them. I was stoked for Mr. Vampire 2. And then I watched it, and I realized it didn't have much screen time, and the overall film was just kind of okay. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty big disappointment, I remember. But I bought it because I'm going to give it a second chance, and I want to review all 3 or 4 films in this franchise. There's actually a lot of films in the franchise, but the first 3 or 4 I remember being like the core of the franchise. So those are the ones I want to review at some point on this channel. Maybe I'll do a month where I'll review 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like one a week. So yeah, this one, I don't know if I could highly recommend it yet. Maybe it'll grow on me after a rewatch though. But again, if you're not familiar with this franchise, you got hopping Chinese vampires. Yes, they hop with their arms above them, and they do kung fu, and they're usually pretty tough to take down, the Chinese vampires. At least the one in the first Mr. Vampire movie was rough. Dude was tough. So we'll see how that one goes at a rewatch. And then we got Mr. Vampire 3, which is just excellent. It's on par with the first Mr. Vampire film in terms of entertainment value, but this one deals more with like ghosts and ghostly phenomena that these guys have to fight, which is, they mixed it up a little bit, which I like that. They just didn't want to do the same thing again. You know what I mean? This one's really good, I remember. So it'll be interesting to see if it holds up and it stays as good as the original when I rewatch it. I like the DVD case on this. You got a lot of blue coloring on it. So, yeah, no special features on any of these, unfortunately. These Hong Kong films right now on these releases, so don't worry about that. This one is the Region 3 release, by the way, Mr. Vampire 3. Mr. Vampire 2 is the Malaysian release. That's all region. And Casino Raiders was the American release, region 1. That's why you got to have a region-free player, either on your computer or your DVD or Blu-ray player. All right, let's move on to South Korea. Again, all 3 of these movies I've covered actually on my channel. And the first one here is Thread of Lies. Thread of Lies. This one, I really enjoyed this one. And I saw it years later, and it definitely holds up. You got Ah Sung-ko as the lead actress in this. And she was in Snowpiercer and The Host back in the day. So her sister commits suicide near the beginning of the film. And our protagonist basically investigates like her sister's relationships with her friends to see what may have spurred her to take her own life. So this is a pretty serious drama for the most part. There is a little bit of humor sprinkled in here and there. But the key to this is that the performances are outstanding in this movie. Really good. And it's a female-centric cast. You basically have 3 or 4 female characters in this that basically take the lead and run with it. And the performances are great, and the dialogue is really good in this too. Like, there's some straight-up just confrontations that occur, and really hard discussions that occur between some of these characters. And it's pretty riveting stuff, I think. There are some special features here, some commentary stuff, but I think it's all in Korean, because this is the Region 3 Korean release, which has English subtitles for the film, but I don't think they include English subtitles for the special features. So, but this movie's worth checking out. Check out my full-length review on my channel, non-spoiler, and see if you want to check it out. All right, we got a romantic comedy, a very quirky one. A very oddball one. Crush and Blush. Yes, Crush and Blush. So this one, you basically have a, let me fire up my notes. You basically have a school teacher here who's very oddball, and her and one of her teenage girl students decide to scheme together and work together to take down one of their teacher's mistresses or potential mistresses. So it's pretty interesting stuff in this one. Again, very, very oddball type of humor. You have Hyo Jin Kong in the lead role, and she's great in this. Great in this. And there's some scenes that are kind of weird. Even early on, you're like, why would she do something like that? And then later on in the film, they kind of explain why she did. So even though it's oddball, it's understandably oddball. You know what I mean? And this does not end like you think it will either, so which makes it really nice. It's a refreshingly different movie, I think. Refreshingly different is how I would describe it. So again, check out my full-length review, non-spoiler review on my channel, Crush and Blush. This is the Region 3 release, subtitled, but doesn't look like there's any special features on it. It's a good one. Then we have the United States Region 1 release of Daytime Drinking. So in this one, you have this dude who has a bad breakup with his girl, and his boys are like, oh, let's go out drinking at this vacation destination. So he's like, all right. So he goes out there, and the vacation resort is closed for the winter, and none of his boys show up because they're just, they're not reliable dudes. So now he's stuck out there, kind of with limited cash. And he basically meets some locals along the way and drinks with them and interacts with them. And it's some funny stuff happens in this. This is a very low-key comedy. I like that it's set in the wintertime. It has a chilly atmosphere to it. This guy's just drinking all the time. He's trying to eat and just survive out there, really. And there's some pretty funny interaction that happens in this. But again, it's very low key. This isn't like a mainstream comedy where you got tons of wacky stuff happening. It basically relies on everyday character interaction. Like, the stuff that happens in this movie, I could definitely see happen in real life, man. I could, definitely. So yeah, I like this one quite a bit. If you're in the mood for kind of a lazy movie, you're just going to relax and maybe drink some soju while you watch it. And another film that's kind of like that, actually, we're going to Japan now, and I've also covered this film on my channel in a separate review, About the Pink Sky. And again, this is the U.S. release, but nobody talks about this one. Just like Daytime Drinking, never hear anybody talk about that, even though it got a wide release in the U.S. on physical media. So this one, it's kind of a complicated plot. Check out my full-length review on my channel. You basically got this feisty high school girl who has kind of an odd hobby of like raiding newspaper articles. And she finds a wallet containing some money. And eventually, kind of things happen. She does return the wallet eventually, but some of the money's missing. So this dude, he gets kind of irritated. He's like, well, where's part of my money here? So he's like, all right, so I'm going to assign you a task. He's like, what we're going to do, and there's reasons for this eventually, is that we're going to develop or write up a newspaper, like a homemade newspaper that focuses on positive stuff. And this girl who's not always so positive is tasked with doing this. So this is a really good, again, like comedy drama, very low key. It's actually shot in black and white, which is pretty interesting and atmospheric, I guess you could say. And I really enjoy this one. Again, if you want a low key comedy, you know what I mean, that moves kind of slow but is really kind of charming. This movie's really charming, I think, and the lead actress is fantastic. I love this girl. She hasn't been in much since this either, which is kind of disappointing. But, yeah, this and Daytime Drinking, definitely, if you want a double feature of like a calm, relaxing, comedy evening, these are two to check out for sure. No special features on this either. All right, we got a big release now. This one is a huge release. Huge one. This is the Region 2 Third Window Films release, the UK release of Fires on the Plain, the Shinya Tsukamoto directed and acted flick from 2014. It took that long for us to get a freaking legitimate English release of this film. Now, I do have the Japanese release that I showcased in my Legacy collection, my Japanese DVD collection videos that did not have subtitles, but I bought it anyway because I wasn't sure if we would ever get something like this. So this one, I have not seen this release yet, but this is a pretty solid release here. Looks like it's a DVD Blu-ray combo pack. It's got some nice packaging here. You also have, in addition to the film, a 1 hour long making of, and you also have, it appears, a full-length audio commentary by Tom Mess, the author of Iron Man, The Cinema of Shinya Tsukamoto, which is a book I've recommended like 1,000 times on this channel. Great book. So I'm really interested to see what he has to say about this movie in a commentary. Now this film, it's about a soldier. I think it's set during World War II in the Philippines. He gets stranded in like the forest, and he's detached from his unit, and the Japanese are in rough shape right now, or at least this particular unit is at this point in the war. So he's suffering from tuberculosis. So he's really sick, and he starts losing his mind, and he's in a war zone. So this is not a feel-good film. It gets pretty violent, and there's some pretty crazy stuff going on in this. And I really remember enjoying it without subtitles, so it'll be interesting to see it with subtitles. And I actually classify this as a horror movie. It's a horror war movie, you know what I mean, just straight up. So, yeah, I'll probably do a separate review of this. But I'll definitely review it in my Asian horror playlist from 2014 when we get to it too. But yeah, this looks like a real solid release, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. Hopefully Tsukamoto comes out with another film soon. It's been 4 years since he came out with this one. Alright, we got some Death Note stuff. Yes, we have Death Note, Light Up the New World. This is the film from a few years ago. And I covered this in my Death Note franchise review. It's like a 20-minute review of like a bunch of the movies and the anime and the TV drama. Anything that was through 2016, basically. And I reviewed all of it in one video. So if you want my thoughts on this, check out that video. And I thought this was pretty good. This was a good flick. Very different, though, from its predecessors. I mean, it takes place, I think, like a decade after the events of the Death Note films from 2006, and you have like successors to L and Light and how they battle, using the Death Note, which can kill anyone if you write their name down on it. So The thing that I was kind of disappointed in with this movie, or threw me for a loop, is that the Death Note is not used in as complicated of ways as the theatrical films from 2006, which is kind of what makes it so interesting. The Death Note franchise is the use of the Death Note and how it's used. So they kind of toned that down in this, which I was disappointed in. But I did think it was a pretty solid movie regardless. It's a good flick. There's some impactful moments at certain points. You got Ryuk up there. They got to give him more screen time in some of the future installments if they decide to make more. But I like this. I think the acting was good, and it's pretty interesting. But again, watch the live-action films from 2006 to start off, because I really love those. And then, of course, we got the anime, the Death Note anime. Yeah, so I added this to my collection like late last year, actually, and it took me a while to get through it, because I have so many other movies I need to watch. But I got through it again for like the second time. I watched this like maybe 10 years ago, and it basically holds up. It's exactly how I remembered, basically. Now, the Death Note Light Up the New World is the Region 3 release with English subtitles, which does not have special features. But this one is the US release of Death Note anime. This has 3 hours of extra content, bonus disc, Japanese creators' interviews, behind the scenes with the voice acting cast, audio commentaries, and production art. So this is a good release. And you basically have 2 sets, because this is a 37 episode series, I think. Yeah, 37 episodes. And each episode's like 24 minutes each or something like that. So it's going to take you a while to get through this, but it's nice because it gives you a lot of Death Note content. And you have, the genius detective L tries to take down Light Yagami, who finds a Death Note that can kill people by just writing their names in it. And, this is a pretty solid, very solid release. Great show. I think, the final third is a little bit less impactful and interesting than the first 2/3 because you have some new characters who are introduced. But I did enjoy it a lot. And I think like that final third actually kind of holds up a little bit better after a rewatch because you kind of know what you're expecting. But yeah, Death Note the anime, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Like I say, watch the anime, watch the 2 live-action films from 2006, because some of the other live-action films, the American one was atrocious, and L Changed the World from 2008 was pretty bad too. So skip those, watch the rest. Very addictive concept and series on those. And then, I also got the manga that I showed in my 1,000 subscriber special that I still have to get through, so I'm working on that. Alright, now we're finishing off with some music CDs. And of course, come on, you gotta know I'm gonna have to buy this one. You got BAND-MAID's new album, World Domination. And this is their best album yet. It is. I've had this album in my car CD player for like, what is it? It came out February 14th, March, April. So at least 2 full months that CD's been in my car. Just constant. While I'm driving, which may not be safe. Because when you listen to their music, you get kind of pumped up. So it's a pretty interesting release here. It's kind of got like this flip-out case. You got the girls there. And then you got the actual release. This is the Japanese release, by the way. You got some cards and some posters and stuff like that. And there's a let's see here. I think there's a movie. I did not see the bonus disc yet. The bonus disc, which I think is Region 2 release, no subtitles, but it has some of their concert footage, I think. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I definitely gotta check that out. But yeah, this album, if you like hard rock music, it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. You basically have a bassist who's unbelievable, a drummer who's unbelievable, and a guitarist who's unbelievable. Then you have the lead singer who's great, And then you have Miku, who's like kind of like the organizer of the band initially, who helps in the songwriting, and she plays the guitar and sings backup vocals. So everybody is really kind of showcased in this band, and they're just they're amazing. I'll include a link in the description box below for a few of their recent music videos, which are, you know, it's going to convince you to get some of their stuff because they're unbelievable. So I really look forward to seeing like what they do next. They actually came out with like an April Fool's music video that I'll link down there too, which is pretty interesting if you're familiar with Japanese culture. It's pretty funny. And then I got their, this is a re-release of their first album. It's just like a white cover, Made in Japan. This was their first album like back in 2013, I think they came out with it. It's more of like a lighter rock music. But still a good album. Probably their least best album, but it's worth checking out if you listen to a lot of their other stuff and you want something a little bit lighter. But yeah, World Domination is their best album. I'd say you can start with that. It's awesome. And there's an American release of that too, I think that's out now. So that's it for this collection update. I've bought a lot of stuff over the last like 5 or 6 months that I got to cover in these collection updates. So maybe I'll do a few more in the next few months to kind of at least catch up a little bit. And as always, I will see you next time.